It is Thirsty Thursday once again. Time for Run Pure Sports Swing for the Fences, aka DraftKings partner. Got a 7-game slate here on DraftKings on a milder travel day than we usually see, probably due to the All-Star game coming up over the course of the early part of next week. Little day baseball was going on, saw some good hits there. Been a good week for baseball, DC. A little bit more variance this week with the pitching, particularly than we had seen in the recent past. So have to keep that in mind. Maybe some of these guys are getting a little tired as the season wears on. Projections not catching up, but also maybe some of these guys looking forward to either the festivities in Atlanta at the All-Star game or just a couple of days off. But 7 games, we'll break it down. DC, how's your Thursday going, my man?
It's going great, and I do kind of agree with your general points. Listen, no crying for professional baseball players. I think they're in a spot that we'd all love to be, but that's still a long time, right? To be with the club playing a game every single day. We're 3 months in here, and I think some of these guys are no doubt looking forward to a few days off away from the team, back with their families, whatever. You mentioned the variance with the pitching. I think that's true. We've also seen, like predictable teams kind of going off. The Red Sox just absolutely obliterating the Rockies night after night, just kind of like they should, right? We've seen the Yankees smashing, of course, the Braves doing work in that park last night. And sometimes, the plays that look like they should get there in the end. And I like those nights. It's been a good week of baseball for me. And I think, JT, a pretty fun 7-game slate here on Thursday. Some Thursdays we're here, we got 3 or 4 games or whatever, a split slate. It doesn't look great. This one looks enticing to me for a number of reasons. It's going to be another tricky pitching slate, I do think, though, where, we're going to see it looks like some big chalk around Spencer Strider, who's got to pitch in, one of the tougher pitching parks that we've seen all year. And so we'll talk about that, of course, when we get into the slate. But I see offenses here that I really, really want to play, and not a lot of pitching to help facilitate getting some of those big bats into your lineup. So this looks like a slate to me, JT, where you're going to have to make some sacrifices on any individual lineup. Either you're going to have to not get in some of the bats that are in incredible spots, or you're going to have to take a dice roll on some frankly sketchy pitchers. So I like sites like this where you got to make some hard decisions, especially if you're hand building and only making a few lineups, which frankly most people watching this show are doing. So might be some uncomfortable builds for me tonight, but I'm comfortable with uncomfortable when it comes to MLB DFS. So it should be a fun one today, JT.
Nobody more comfortable with awkwardness or uncomfortability than our guy DC.
There you go.
And certainly this 7-game, like you said, we usually get, maybe the most we get is 5 games. I think we've had a couple of those. We had some that would have been a little bit bigger, but had a couple of rainouts. And this one, we get 7 games on a Thursday, which is nice. We've got some pretty big contests on DraftKings as well. And then, unfortunately for a lot of people, the Rockies, they have left Boston. They are not on this slate. There is no easy click, collect your 25-plus points.
I could have been down for one more Rockies beatdown today. Would have been nice, but I guess we can't have it till tomorrow.
It would have been interesting because it is Walker Buehler pitching for the for the Red Sox. Excuse me. I'm sure no one more upset that the Rockies left town than Walker Buehler, because it's been a rough go for him. We do have the White Sox on the slate, though. We'll talk about that game, and then the Atlanta game in Sacramento is probably one of the more interesting games to talk about when we get there, which we will do. We will get started, though, DC, on this slate in New York City, where the Mariners are still in New York City. It's going to be Brian Wu at 10K, Marcus Stroman at 6K. Stroman really hasn't been destroyed the way that you expect that Marcus Stroman is going to be destroyed. The price is still 6K flat. A lot of power for Seattle. And then Brian Wu has been absolutely outstanding, putting up 25-plus fantasy points in 4 straight games. Of course, the matchups there, DC, at least the last three, the Pirates, the Rangers, who all of a sudden are hot, and then the Minnesota Twins. It's quite another thing to go into Yankee Stadium and pitch against these Yankees, the way they've been hitting the ball. What are your thoughts here on this Mariner-Yankee game?
Yeah, so I mean, right off the bat, I don't really want to pay $10K for Brian Wu on this slate, as good as he's been, which, no denying the output that he's had. He's a very good pitcher. I'm a fan of him in general, all those things. But yeah, 10K feels like a lot. We talked about it. I can't remember what Logan Gilbert ended up doing. I think he was pretty mediocre, if I recall correctly. They get to Logan Evans yesterday. We talk about it when these Seattle pitchers are in Seattle, how good of a spot that is to pitch. The inverse is true. When you take them out of there, they're not quite the same guy. So not to say that Wu couldn't have a good game. We have seen much worse pitchers than him occasionally put up a big performance against these Yankees, but it kind of seems to come out of nowhere from weird pitchers, JT, guys like Kyle Hendricks, right? It doesn't seem to come when you pay up for a 10K pitcher, most expensive pitcher on the slate. Most of those guys, when they face this offense, seems to me they end up with some pretty mediocre or sometimes outright bad results. So, you're playing a lot more lineups than I am. Playing my 10 lineups tonight. I'm not going to play Brian Wu. Not to say he's a bad play, but I want to spend mostly on bats tonight, and I do prefer Strider, even if I am spending up. So I'm off of Wu personally, and then Stroman. This is one of the uncomfortable ones where I might end up playing it to fit in the stacks that I want to. Stroman's 6K, so he is the cheapest pitcher available on the entire slate. He has been okay since returning from injury. And, on a slate like this where I know I'm just looking for anything to play that's cheap, kind of dig into some of these pitchers. And he was the best one I can find. He's changed a couple things with his pitch mix. I'm not expecting a great outing from him, JT. I'm really not. I'm trying to get 10 or 15 fantasy points, frankly, from him at 6K. There is strikeouts to be had against this Mariners team. I never play Stroman. I'm not really a fan of his. But on this slate, I do think he's a reasonable play at lowest price point and some pretty low ownership, just given how I want to build on this slate. So somewhat in on Stroman. And then I think a point of discussion too, JT, is what to do, with some of these Yankees bats. I mean, you're going to get these guys super, super low owned, right? I mean, everybody is going to want to play Acuna over Judge. I do too, in a vacuum. But if Judge is 5% and Acuna is 20%, who's a better play? That, I think, is up for debate, right? Once you factor in the 4X on the ownership, then I think it comes pretty close. So curious where you ended up on that. And yeah, I guess maybe a kind of contrarian take right out of the gate here in game one for me. But Stroman right now, he's kind of sadly on my short list of pitchers.
You get 15 points from Stroman. I mean, that's pretty much a ceiling game for him at this point in his career. My concern is that slipper is going to fall off. I mean, he hasn't gotten hit hard. He should get hit hard with what his pitch mix and velocity is right now, which is nowhere near the best pitchers in the game. So I can't see myself using Stroman personally. The issue with fading Wu that I have, you're right, I'm playing I don't know, 400 lineup, something like that tonight. You look at pitching, and we'll talk through these guys, right, when we get to their games, but there isn't a lot. It does feel, and some underlying metrics suggest that Brian Wu, and again, he's been pitching phenomenal, but no pitcher goes through a season without giving up more than 3 or 4 runs in a game, right? Every pitcher has a game. The thing there with Wu is I do think the floor is one of the highest on this slate just because of what happened to Logan Gilbert and Logan Evans the last couple of nights. So I'm not looking necessarily for 30 from any pitcher. I'm looking at where do I avoid the -3 to 6 that I think some of these guys are. It's well within their regular range of outcomes on a slate like this. So I do like the Yankees at lower ownership, though, as well. We've seen that when they've got into this bullpen of Seattle in particular, that there's really nothing to slow this team down. And on the flip side, I do think that, Seattle bats at low ownership are going to be interesting as well. And again, I'm not sure. When I ran projections and numbers, Stroman is not a guy that you would play based on those things. He's a guy that you play and say, if we get just a weird baseball variance night, Marcus Stroman with 11.5 points could be on the winner somewhere. So there's a fair point for that. Anything left to discuss in this one?
Not a ton. Just at this Yankees lineup. I mean, this is a dangerous spot. I mean, Dominguez is swinging an incredible bat. You got Judge, one of the, obviously all-time greats. Jazz Chisholm's on fire. They got Ben Rice, who crushes righties. He's in the lineup. Like, this is not a good spot at all for Brian Wu, and you're paying $10K for a chalky guy in a terrible spot. So that's just a kind of a tough pill for me to swallow. But, I totally get where the Marcus Stroman bill might be even tougher to swallow than the Brian Wu one. So it just, kind of a matter of preference of how you want to build on the slate.
All right. As always, any questions, go ahead and drop them in the chat, and we will get to those because we've got 7 games. We've got plenty of time. Next game in Boston, and this is Tampa Bay heading in Boston. Boston, of course, having a little fun over the last 3 days with the Rockies. Now we get back to facing real Major League Baseball players, both on the mound and then in the batter's box. Taj Bradley, 8,200, going against Walker Buehler, 6,900. DC, I played Taj Bradley a little bit this season. He's not a guy, I think, anymore that you could call a core pitcher just because of how hard he's been hit. League is seemingly caught up to him. He's had a couple of good games. The one thing that nags at me in the back of my mind is the Red Sox just saw the worst pitching staff in all of organized baseball anywhere on this earth for 3 games. And now they get the Rays coming in. Taj Bradley is certainly a better pitcher than any of the guys they've seen over the last 3 days. Makes me a little bit interested in him, even at 8,200. I really don't have interest in Walker Buehler here in this spot. Kind of interested in these bats from Tampa Bay. What are your thoughts?
Similar thoughts there. I think if you're looking at these 2 pitchers, to me, not that I love Bradley here against, I get the point about the good pitching, but you still got to get the job done. We have seen teams fail against the Rockies. The Red Sox did not. They smacked the ball around for 3 games, and the lineups, it's looking kind of better and better. Got the return of Bray, who's crushing it. Roman Anthony seems like he's turned the corner. So not to say they'll stay hot, but they certainly are hot at the moment. But I do agree with you. I think Bradley is one of the guys who could very reasonably put up 20-plus fantasy points. I think in both our opinions, there's not very many of those guys on this slate. And I think we're going to see, like you said, quite a few pitchers perhaps even go negative. And Walker Buehler on the short list for me of pitchers who I think could go negative. I think more likely to do it in my eyes than a Marcus Stroman, obviously. So I'm off of Walker Buehler with you. And the Rays bats, I mean, Buehler has just been awful, like just absolutely terrible. Been hit really, really hard, gives up power. And this Rays team, I mean, this is another offense. You don't want to sleep on this offense. They're putting up a ton of runs. They got their own rookie in the middle of that lineup, Junior Caminero, who's just absolutely smashing the baseball. I think he's a fantastic play against Buehler, who you could play righties or lefties against. So, I'm in on these Rays bats what are we looking at for ownership with them? I don't imagine it's too crazy. Looking at their hitters, 5 to 10%. Yeah, seems very reasonable to me on the Rays. So I like that. I think the Red Sox are an okay play too against Taj Bradley, who he does have some talent. We've also seen, Big T's not here, but looking at the game log, there's quite a few negative DraftKings performances from Taj Bradley on the ledger, 2 in the last month. So he's very capable of getting hit hard too. And we know this Red Sox team swinging good bats right now. I'm kind of more in on the offenses here, but specifically the Rays do look pretty good to me here, JT.
All right. JP's upset. He would be all in on the Rays if the weather wasn't crappy. He says Cold and winds blowing in. All right, let's do it. Let's do a real-time fact check, DC. Ooh, it is frigid. It is very cold in Boston. 68 degrees. Ooh, that's very cold. Very cold. 5 mile per hour winds blowing in. Ooh, oh my goodness. I hope they bundle up tonight, DC. What are your thoughts?
No, your favorite website, Ballpark Pal, says about.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for going there. But we're going to talk about that when we get to the Athletics game. But go on.
They say, what is the number? Plus 6% for runs. So,
how can that be? It's too cold.
It's going to be all right. Yeah.
It's chilly in Boston. It's chilly in Boston.
They'll survive. They're troopers out there. We might see them in face masks like back in April, but they'll be okay.
JP84, drop some notes and your Venmo in the Discord, please, for your service this evening. We move on, DC, to a game that I think this game has actual chance. None of these games have a chance of like postponement, in my opinion, based on what I looked at earlier. But we'll let you give your weather report here in Chicago for the Guardians heading into play the Chicago White Sox. It's Logan Allen at 7,700 against Jonathan Cannon, 6,400. Cannon looked like maybe he was going to be a promising player in this organization. It's tough to be that, but certainly the recent results have not been anywhere near what we expected to see from him. Now, it is tough when nobody behind you can really catch the ball. That obviously will challenge you as a pitcher, but hard to be interested in one of these White Sox pitchers right now. Logan Allen at 7,700 looks to be fairly popular on this slate. Can't argue that either, DC. What are your thoughts on Cleveland and Chicago?
Yeah, I'm actually looking more at pitching here. It does say something about the pitching on this slate in general, JT, that at the moment our good friends over at Saberson, they've got Logan Allen projected for 23% ownership, which is a very high number just for the name Logan Allen. And then
not against the White Sox. I mean, pitching against the White Sox have been getting owned, and rightfully so. But go on.
Yeah, just for the caliber of arm that he is.
Yeah.
And he's not even that cheap, right? 7,700 is not some bargain basement price point. And then Cannon on the other side, I mean, they've got him projected right around 20% ownership. So other people, kind of have the same idea of maybe spending down on pitching. Looks like Cannon's going to be the most popular choice for people trying to save salary. And for me too, I kind of like is a strong word for Jonathan Cannon, but I think he could pitch well here. I do have him a little bit above ahead of Marcus Stroman, just because at least there's some arm talent here, right? Stroman you
realize you're actually laughing at yourself as you're saying this, right? You're like, all right, wait a second. How bad?
I'm always laughing at myself.
How bad is this video going to be? Because I'm talking about playing Marcus Stroman and Jonathan Cannon on the slate with Strider, Wu. Go on.
Yeah. But here we are. And I do like Cannon a little bit. Indians are on fire. They did have a good series against the Astros for sure, but this is still a good matchup for Cannon. We got the wind blowing in, JT. It's not going to be chilly in Chicago, but at least we got a little bit of wind.
This park is not a good hitting park. I'm not going to argue that point.
Yeah, so I do like Cannon a little bit. It seems like the field will too. And then Logan Allen, I think, is a solid option, 7,700 against a really light hitting White Sox team that has, frankly, almost no punch at all, right? They just don't have any threatening bats. And that's Allen's one of his biggest issues. He gives up a lot of power to right-handed bats, but he should be okay in that regard, most likely. So I do like Allen and both Allen and Cannon a little bit in this one. I'm going elsewhere for bats. If you want to get, a low-owned Jose Ramirez, rather, I think that's a pretty good way to go. But I don't see stacking either of these two teams or finding that on the winner tonight where there are so many good places to go. So pitching in this one for me, Jonathan Cannon, Logan Allen. Let's get a pitcher's duel in Chicago tonight, JT. That'd be nice for my wallet at least.
Certainly hard for me to go to the White Sox. The Guardians actually starting maybe to look like they're coming out of whatever funk they've been in and hit the ball really well while they were in Houston. So I have some interest in Guardian stacks. What I also have interested in is apologizing to all the people in chat for the offensive comment by Myers. We'll allow you to vote now if we should put Myers in timeout for his use of offensive language in the chat. And if we get to 5 timeouts, then Myers will be put in timeout. DC,
I brought the comment to the screen, so hopefully I don't have to get on timeout for, taking it to the next level.
No, I think unfortunately, that is a byproduct of the offensive comment is other people may repeat it. It's like saying a curse word around children, right? I mean, they may repeat this because they're just reading it and whatever. So Uncle T is Uncle T's, well, maybe we'll put Uncle T in timeout. All right, let's move on.
Always a good idea.
DC, I really thought I was going to get like 5 or 6 people right away to say absolutely that guy has to go in timeout, but just didn't get it. Just didn't get it. So all right, and here's JSU. JSU, my goodness. Oh, all right. Washington heading into St. Louis to take on the Cardinals. DC, Michael Soroka and his recent 32% strikeout rate heads into St. Louis. He is 8,500 though. Miles Mikolas at 7,300, and for some reason, and this has been something that our guy Captain has been all over this year with DraftKings. He's not around because he's in the mountains taking beautiful pictures, beautiful photography of the sky and the clouds. Somehow DC Luis Garcia for the Nationals is not in the DraftKings player pool. So you cannot play him in your national stacks.
I hope Captain's vacation isn't ruined if he finds this out.
He's going to come back and be pissed off is what's going to happen. And it's okay because we'll have a big slate tomorrow. There will be people who are not in the pool and he can take it from there. But this is one of the more egregious misses, I think, Luis Garcia not being in the pool. That aside,
what did they take him out for some reason, or why isn't he?
I don't know if maybe he was on the IL or something. It's odd. It's odd. DC Nationals put up a bunch of runs last night, bunch of home runs against this team. Soroka's been pitching very, very well, almost as well as he did when he first came up with the Braves. Of course, Mikolas been hit and miss. I mean, he's never a guy that you actively look to roster. He did get knocked around by the Cubs his last start. A little bit expensive now. What are your thoughts on this game in St. Louis?
I mean, it's hard to say there's no way I would roster Soroka or Mikolas when I just got done recommending Jonathan Cannon and Marcus Stroman. But I'll say it anyway, JT. I'm not rostering 7,300 Mikolas, $8,500 Mark Soroka in this economy. No, thank you, JT. I'm going to pass on both of these pitchers. Soroka coming off negative 0.2 against Boston his last time out, 7 earned runs over 4 innings. He has, like you said, had some good outings too. I'm just not buying it with Soroka really at all. And I like the bats in this game. This is, I think, maybe the sneakiest place to go for hitters. You will have to pay up to get guys like Abrams and Wood into your lineups, but I've recommended that a lot on the show. James Wood has been a favorite of mine all season. Dude is just absolutely mashing. He's right on the level with the Acuñas and the Judges. Just look at the numbers he's putting up. Abrams can do it. That mini stack, and it really truly is a mini stack because you can't play the 3-hole hitter, Luis Garcia, not in the pool. So, there you go. Cut it off at Abrams and Wood. I think that's got as much potential as anything tonight against Mikolas. I really like that at low ownership. And I like the Cardinals lefties too. Donovan, Burleson, Nootbaar, Gorman, even Victor Scott down there at the bottom of the lineup against Mike Soroka. I think we're going to see runs in this game. I'm on the offenses here. And, I'll let other people play $8,500 Mike Soroka. No, thank you, JT. I'm going to pass on that one.
No, thank you. Give us Marcus Stroman and give us Jonathan Cannon, but not Mike Soroka. All right.
You got it.
I stand corrected. Apparently, Garcia is in the pool. The list I was looking at was not accurate.
No.
So thank you to all of the
sleep easy, Captain. You're good. You're good.
All of the sleuths who found that out for me. We've got someone named Benny Boom Benny Boom is desperately trying to get Big T's attention. Big T is not here. By the way, did you see the comment from Bobby Boom yesterday in chat, DC? Did you see the?
Well, I mean, which one? No, I don't know. I don't. None rings a bell, but I'm sure it was good if you're bringing it up.
Well, Bobby Boom. Bobby Boom, apparently, for those of you that don't know, was a highly recruited intelligence asset. So
I did see that comment. I just assumed he was full of shit.
I think that the intelligence agencies, they get into lots of different things, and they were like, who is the person who knows the most about illicit pornography? And that's how he ended up on the recruitment list. But he says he turned multiple government agencies down to be a merce and hang out in our Discord. And honestly, we're grateful for that because he gives me joy like almost nobody else. So
I've been a Bobby Boom fan for many years, so I'm with you on that one, JT.
Yeah, Benny Boom still trying to get in touch with Big T. Benny, go ahead and leave your message or your story, and I promise you we'll pass it along. And if you have a way to get a hold of you, then leave that as well, and we'll see if we can get Big T to maybe send you. We could
give out Big T's phone number on the show. Then Benny Boom could go straight to the source.
We could do that. We could do that.
We're men of the people here. We
can do that. All right.
Big T.
We get. Let's take a vote. We get 10 to say yes. We give out Big T's phone number.
What phone number I'm going to give him is Boynton's Crap's friend from the cruise. That's the number that we should instead of Boynton's number.
Boynton did have an admirer on the cruise. Okay. All right. Let's move on, DC. Let's move on and keep this together. This is a game we want to talk about. All right. The Atlanta Braves in Sacramento. Spencer Strider, 9,500. JP Sears coming off a dominating performance against the San Francisco Giants at 7,100. I actually used Sears in that start, did very well. DC, this game has all sorts of, the Braves are the highest owned stack here on the slate. They scored a bunch of runs last night, 9 runs, I believe it was, against the Athletics. They hit 5 home runs, though, for the first time since early last season. So this isn't something that happens a lot. People are going to be chasing this performance. JP Sears has actually been pitching fairly well, maybe figured out how to pitch at home. And like I said, just 7,100. Then on the other side, Spencer Strider, 70% owned once again. Last time he was 70% owned in a home start, he ended up with, I think it was 14 fantasy points. This was a start against the Phillies, DC. A big difference here because Strider is still going to be a good pitcher because he has pinpoint command. But there's a huge difference between 95 to 97 at the top end and 99 to 101 at the top end. And he's now 95 to 97. I think he can still have success against this Athletics team with the amount of strikeouts in their lineup. But this is also a dangerous matchup here for someone who is not the same pitcher as he once was. There's no way I'm just going to lock him or even match the field at 70%. What are your thoughts on the A's and the Braves?
Basically what you said. I've been saying it every Strider start that I've had a show, which I think, frankly, is most of his starts. That specifically, I think it was the start against Philadelphia when he was super popular. I think I had a show with Schlong that day, and people are treating Strider, when you look at the ownership, JT, like this is prime Spencer Strider. Listen, I'm a huge Strider fan, but it's not the same version of Strider. Now he is still a good pitcher. And I do think he's right there with Wu as, right currently at this time, July 10th, 2025, the best pitcher on the slate, but not the same Spencer Strider that we saw in his prime. It's just not close. You can look at all the data. Everything would lead you to that conclusion. And, even if you're just looking at the game logs, he's had one game this season above 30 fantasy points. Who was it against? The Colorado Rockies in Atlanta. So when he's faced good opponents, mostly it's been, around 20 fantasy points, sometimes a little bit less than that. Is that a good play tonight at 9,500 and massive ownership? I would argue not really. I do agree, certainly, that his upside is there against this team with all the strikeouts. But, man, hot. Ball's going to be flying. This is a great home run park. And if you play Strider, you are sacrificing something with the bats, no question. You're not going to be able to get in quite as many studs as someone who's, an idiot like me paying down for both pitching spots on this slate. So, yeah, I will have some exposure to Strider. I will be under the field. And then over to the other side, the game that this reminds me of, JT, was the Houston game. The Astros, with that righty-heavy lineup, they go into Sutter Health Field. The wind's blowing out. It's hot. JP Sears, a fly ball lefty, facing a team with a lot of right-handed power. Once you obviously factor in, especially how this park is going to play. Acuna, Riley, Ozuna, Profar, Albies, and Sean Murphy would be the guys that have considerable power from the right side. I think this is one of the better spots for any hitter all year for Ronald Acuna. And, you're paying for it and he'll be owned like it. But I would have said this if the Braves got shut out yesterday. So it has nothing to do with their performance on last night's slate. I just think this is an amazing spot for the right-handed power against Sears. Terrible bullpen behind him. And I do think it's actually going to be, if they knock Sears out early, I think it's going to be another bad lefty, Sean Newcomb, in long relief, maybe in the fourth or fifth inning if it goes south for Sears. Could potentially see the Braves piling on big into the late innings in this one. I do think they are clearly the best stack on the slate, but they're probably going to be owned like it too. So obviously you're playing that into ownership. I'm okay with that on this slate. These guys just look too good to me to pass up. So they are my priority, the Atlanta Braves. I'll be getting them in my lineups. And then I should mention, if you're fading Strider, it's because of the home run potential, right? In this park, Strider does give up power, especially to lefties, and the ball will absolutely be flying here. He could get strikeouts, but also give up a couple home runs. I never do this, but it does seem like a decent slate to play Strider, like with Lawrence Butler or with Nick Kurtz, because I could see him being SP1 on the slate and still giving up a bomb or maybe two to these guys. So I do think you can play it both ways, but for people, not playing Strider in any lineup, do take a look at that A's power, because if Strider doesn't get there, it's probably because he gave up, some loud contact, 2-3 home runs. So I think this is a game you can play any which way other than JP Sears, who's not on my personal radar at all.
All right. Boom, our guy, shares his story, and essentially he got a new roommate who brushes his teeth in the shower. And he said that Big T would enjoy this. And so we're going to share that with Big T. We know this isn't Boom because he didn't want us to give out Big T's number. And if it was our guy Boom, he would be enthralled with the chaos that would cause. So, all right.
I feel like if I texted Big T that, I don't know if I would get a response from Tony. Sometimes he's, sometimes he ignores my texts. It's very hurtful, JT.
I think you should let him know that now. I think you should let him know that Boom has shared this captivating story with us, and see what his response is. All right.
We'll see.
Go ahead and, all right, any questions, drop in.
What are you doing with Strider and the Braves? Curious, because I think that's the biggest decision to make on this slate.
Yeah. So Strider, it all comes out to where I end up on some of these other pitchers. And that's the thing. I think on slates like this, where people look at pitching, and I want to say routine DFS players don't know Brian Wu. They do, right? But they also know historically these Seattle Mariners pitchers have been much better at home. Wu has been the exception, by the way. He's actually been okay on the road for the most part this season in particular. For Strider, I just don't think, for me on this slate, matching the 70% makes a lot of sense. If you look at projections, you'll be like, all right, why aren't I locking this guy? And the reason why is because that big game against the Rockies was at home. The A's are I mean, the A's are light years better than the Rockies. They do strike out, but they also hit home runs.
Yeah.
They have talented players. They can and will steal bases at times, which is another thing that teams have started to do. I don't know how many of you watched that game against the Phillies, but Strider got very out of his normal routine when he had a base runner on, because this has been a weakness for Sean Murphy this season. It's been a weakness for Drake Baldwin as well this season, and for Braves pitchers in general. So I think there's a greater chance that he has a good game, but not a game that you need on this slate, than there is that he gets you 35-38. He may get you 35-38, but in the amount of lineups I'm playing, I'm fine with going 45-50%. And some of this, I want to say this too, and be honest about it, just for people who are watching this that play multiple lineups like I do. I'm trying to be careful not to be biased, because when he was 70% on that Sunday, I played 75% of them. His 15 didn't kill me, but it also didn't help me get to the top. So I want to shave a little bit off of that just in case that, 10, 12 point performance, something like that, comes up to give me an opportunity to get to the top in these better lineups. And I'll play a little bit of the A's because of the home run power in this park. Braves bullpen been a little bit better recently, but the park neutralizes a lot of good pitching, this park in particular. So, all right, we have just 2 games left. By the way, JP, no, the A's did not make Bryce Elder look like a right-handed screwball. That is a disgusting comment. Very hurtful from you. He got batted ball luck that he has not got, is what happened with Bryce Elder last night. All right, next game is in Anaheim. This game shot out last night, DC. The Rangers and the Angels, and a big total here. We've got Patrick Corbin, 7,500 for the Rangers. 7,500 Patrick Corbin. He hasn't been pitching that bad this season, although when he's faced good teams, it normally goes south. And then Jack Kachanowicz, thank you, JP84, Jack Kachanowicz for 6,200 against this Rangers team that maybe is starting to show a little bit of life. What are your thoughts here on the Rangers and the Angels?
Kind of expecting another shootout here again. I mean, with these two guys, Corbin, Jack Kachanowicz, neither guy very good, obviously. I mean, the Angels, are the Angels the most boom or bust lineup in baseball? They might be, right? All the power that they have. I mean, Neto, Trout, Ward, Adele, Soler, even Travis d'Arnaud swinging it okay. They got just a ton of power against lefties, which obviously profiles really well against Corbin. Going to be good hitting weather here in Los Angeles. This will play like a hitter-friendly park for the most part. And I like, those Angels bats that I mentioned, those righties. Neto in particular, I think, is an awesome play at shortstop. If I had to rank them, it'd be Neto 1, Trout 2, then Ward, Adele, Soler would be what I'm looking at with the Angels. But all those guys, I think, have awesome home run potential. I'm sure their home run props are very high. They should be against Patrick Corbin and the Rangers in LA. You can play the other side too. I mean, I keep saying it with Corey Seager, when he gets these mediocre right-handed pitchers, and certainly Jack Kachanowicz is that. I don't even know if he qualifies as mediocre. Seager just absolutely on fire. So both shortstops in this game, Neto, Seager, look like fantastic one-offs, even if you're not stacking it up. I like Josh Smith at the top of the lineup. I think, really the whole Rangers stack you can play. Just those two in particular, Smith and Seager, do stand out to me, assuming they're hitting 1-2 as expected tonight. So this is another game, JT, where I'm looking at the bats. I'm not on these pitchers. I did look into Jack K, trying to figure out which of these 6K scrub pitchers I could maybe get away with. I came up with the conclusion, right or wrong, that Kachanowicz is not as good of a play as Cannon or Stroman in my eyes. So he's off the list for me. But all bats here, and I think we're going to see runs again in Los Angeles tonight.
Sports Better FM says Kachanowicz is his favorite pitcher on the slate. He's got an elite ground ball rate and put up 20 DraftKings points versus the Yankees. Very few starting pitchers have that going for them tonight. Texas does not scare him this evening. And then GoFi says he's got Wu projected for 13 fantasy points. Projection around the industry is right around 15, maybe a little bit less than that. So there's that. And then, yes, Mr. Locke, this is Matt Williams' podcast. Thank you for joining. We will get to the last game on the slate, DC, is the Diamondbacks and the Padres. Diamondbacks, Eduardo Rodriguez for 8K going against Pods, Randy Vasquez, everyone's favorite pitcher here at Run Pure Sports, 6,600 against these Diamondbacks who got to Dylan Cease last night. Pretty high total here too, especially for a game in Petco Park at night. 4-5 implied for the Diamondbacks, 4-2 implied for the Padres, DC. What are you going to do with Eduardo Rodriguez at 8K and the Padres?
Well, it doesn't seem like Steve Boynton's watching, because I think he would have chimed in the chat at some point if he was. But Steve is, well known for always stacking against Randy Vasquez and being frustrated for not winning all the money. My message to Steve: don't give up. This is your night. Low-owned Diamondbacks. Nobody's going to want to go to Petco Park. This is the night they get him. I think the Diamondbacks get to Randy Vasquez here. They are my favorite, second favorite stack on the night after the Atlanta Braves, of course. Lefties in particular, Vince Vasquez, just absolutely square him up. More walks and strikeouts allowed. I think the single worst pitcher against lefties in baseball for pitchers that regularly get starts. So I'm in. Carroll, Marte, Perdomo, Naylor, top four. You notice the Diamondbacks had their lineup out real early. They knew what they were doing. They saw Vasquez. They looked at the numbers, JT, and they said, "No, we got this one. Give me those four lefties right up at the top." I think the Snakes are biting tonight against Vasquez and do some damage here. I'm in on those four guys in particular. I probably, frankly, won't get to the $200 Suarez, but of course you could play him. But just right in a row, right off the top, 1, 2, 3, 4. Give me those Snakes against the Vasquez. I think it's against Vasquez. I think it's a fantastic spot. And Erod, I don't know what to think about him. He had been pitching pretty well, and his last result has to be one of the most bizarre results of the year. 7 strikeouts and no walks over 4 1/3 innings, but 12 hits allowed and 8 earned runs. He gave up 12 hits and 8 earned runs and was so good otherwise that he barely was in the negative because of the strikeout to walk ratio there. So I don't know what to do with Erod. I'm not playing him at 8K, but I guess you could throw him maybe in the Logan Allen bin there as a kind of a mediocre lefty. Worst spot for Erod, I think, for sure, against San Diego, but it is a good place to pitch. And, he has been missing bats recently. I mean, look at the strikeouts last few games, 7, 6, 4, 5. Like, those are pretty good numbers for this slate. So I think Erod does make some sense at 8K. I think I like Logan Allen better between the two. Curious where you ended up between Logan Allen and Erod. I think I lean Logan Allen slightly. No way I'm playing Vasquez. And as I said, give me all those D-backs at the top of the lineup.
Yeah, when you first look at it, you say, wow, 8K for Erod feels like maybe that's a little bit too expensive. But then you look at some of his results and the strikeout rate, and you say, okay, maybe.
Yeah.
And then you think about the Padres, and the Padres, they just there's so many holes in this lineup. Either that or they do not all hit. They just have not gelled and put together those big games. They're rarely in the winter. I'm still down on Erod. I still think that his best days are behind him. So I'm not real sure what percentage I'm going to end up with him. I'm with you on Vasquez. He will not be in my pool. Looks like Stevers is way down on his Guardians. Does not want to play those. Of course, Uncle T in here talking about how the Padres offense sucks, and they've been really disappointing, especially for DFS in terms of their offensive performance. And Uncle T, I don't know You've
I've
been
been
here the
saying
whole
all
time.
Slate. You know who the two dumpster pitchers are I'm playing. I've been saying it all day long.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's playing Cannon, Stroman, and like Braves and Diamondbacks. And
You got it. There it
there
is.
you go. I mean, it's very simple, Uncle T. Very simple. The blueprint is there for you. Blueprint is there for you. Just because we talked about Spencer Strider for a little while, just a little bit of an update here, DC. Maybe a great break for Spencer Strider. No Shea Langoliers in the lineup. And so you got Austin Wynns, and then Miguel Andujar is back. That is going to increase the strikeout percentage of this lineup. Zach Geloff back, but hasn't done much yet. There's a little more. It gets a little better.
Strider's upside is very high here. I 100% agree. Very high.
Yeah, that is. Yep. That is not necessarily the best lineup that I've seen from these A's. So, take with that what you will. All right, 7 games. Look at Wynns BVP versus Strider. Austin Wynns is come on, sports better man. Austin Wynns is a backup catcher. How many at bats could this be? DC, does he have more than 6 at bats?
Give me a moment. Filibuster for me, and I'll find out.
All right. Well, see, Sports Better has come in here. I mean, okay, wait a second. So this is Sports Better's lineup. It is Jack Kachanowicz, Austin Wynns.
JT, sorry to cut you off. You did have it exactly correct. It is 4 plate appearances for Wynns against Strider.
Okay. All right. Sports Better, by the way, we love having you here. I love having you. I love that you're watching us. I agree with your take about Allen over Erod, but we had to dive into that. All right, DC. I'm scared of the answer. Frightened of the answer, actually. Who's your most important pitcher tonight?
It's going to be the Cannon Stroman combination, and I'll be waiting for those Braves and D-backs to start. Hopefully, I'm not sitting with 2 negative performances by the time we get the offenses going late. But that's my favorite build. Like I said, comfortable being with uncomfortable pitchers on this slate. So we'll see. Strider, especially after that lineup came out, I was kind of a little bit on the fence between Strider and Wu, but after seeing that A's lineup, I do much prefer Strider, but I assume the ownership will bump even further now. So we're going to see big numbers on Spencer Strider.
All right. Will you have Spencer Strider, or you're going to go?
Yeah. No, I'll have him. I'll be right around probably 40 or 50% too.
So you'll have something to look forward to tonight, no matter what happens.
Yes, correct.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. For me, this is a tough pitching slate, and I think that first of all, I'm gonna play more than the 50% Strider I was saying I might earlier. My probably went up to around 60%, maybe just a little bit under the field, so not quite right with the field, but maybe a little bit under. It's a tough pitching slate. I do think that Logan Allen probably makes the most sense because even if, and the White Sox, by the way, have like a 30% strikeout rate against left-handed pitching since June 1st. So that is something that's exciting. But JT, no conviction. It's a tough pitching slate. I'm giving you my SP2. I don't know if he'll be in the core or not. Core will be up about 630, 640. Just depends on what the numbers spit out based on what I like. But yeah, I think Logan Allen will be more important. I don't think I'm going to get to Stroman. If I get to any Cannon, it's not going to be it's not going to be all that much. The cheese lover, thank you. I appreciate it. That's a compliment. The gays do love me. DC, obviously you like the Braves bats. Who's your other most important offenses?
Yeah, I love the Braves. The D-backs are number 2 for me. And then if I'm giving a third, I do like those Cardinals lefties against Mike Soroka, Donovan, Burleson, and Newt Bar in particular, I think look good.
Myers, when you send me DMs tonight, don't be surprised that they are not getting responded to. For me, DC, I hate to do this. I really do. I like these Seattle guys. I think that Stroman has been, pitching over his head a little bit. Just, and when I say over his head, meaning he hasn't gotten negative fantasy points yet. So I'm going to take the other side here. I'm going to take the other side here.
Of feelings not hurt going up against Marcus Stroman. It's a purely nature of the slate play with Marcus Stroman.
Yeah, no, I understand. I appreciate that because it hurts me to go opposite against you. All right. Oh my God. Chat is great as usual. All right. So core plays will be up. As I mentioned, the playbook is done. Projections. We're having an issue with the website page for projections. So usually what's been happening this week is our guy Rubio, shout out to him, has been dropping the CSV into Discord. I'm sure if the page on the website doesn't work, then those projections are going to be dropped into Discord. Core plays going up. Slate Builder will be up. Big platoons will be up. And we will all be in chat answering your questions on this slate for DC. I'm JT. Good luck in your contest tonight.